gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Bubba Myron.
Hello, folks. I am almost exhausted from the pre-show. Oh, Lord Jesus. If y'all could only tune in sometimes, I would hope we would not lose any listeners.
Just because we get a little political on the pre-show doesn't, I always joke and go, that's the Patreon. That's the member video behind on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Over there on youtube.com, you can search us at Tapped Out Pods, our handle, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn those notifications on, and of course you can become a member, get the articles and get the show early, all that good stuff over on YouTube. Don't forget, by the way, somebody did ask me, is the Patreon still there? Yes, it still exists. We just don't plug it a ton, but it's there just like the YouTube channel. So look, if you want either or, we just had a lot of people prefer the YouTube thing, so we created that avenue as well.
The YouTube is like Golden Corral. You can find all of your favorites in one place, and you can just upgrade to the full dessert bar.
Correct. That is correct.
Taste
that
it.
is correct.
Taste it.
Yeah. Hey, before we get started, man, I want to plug got a new sponsor here that you probably noticed there on the screen. jmartinandcompany.com. They pressure wash, window clean, gutters, roofs, all that good stuff. I posted the pictures, man. They crushed it on my driveway. I have a pretty big driveway. And they came in, they knocked that out, cleaned it up super nice. They did the pressure wash the house as well. But then, man, did me a solid and did the mother-in-law's house.
Yes.
Got a lot of brownie points, and brownie points with a mother-in-law goes very, very far these days, if you know what I mean. So I appreciate them. So if you're in the, especially the North Georgia, but look, they don't do just residential; they do commercial. So I mean, if you got commercial stuff and you need it done, give them hit them up. They're on Facebook as well, J Martin and Company, but jmartinandcompany.com. Check them out, man. You will not be disappointed. It's best work I've seen, and they absolutely crushed it. And here's what I tell people: when you do business with somebody, it's not about just what they do; it's how they do it, and and I trust them if there was a mistake. What would they do to handle it? And look, nobody takes care of his customers better than Jamie Martin, and J Martin and Company. So check them out for sure.
It's a relationship business. It's a relationship when you know the people behind it and trust the people behind it.
That's correct, 110%. But listen, talking about people that are behind the scenes running things, we're talking about trusting people. The big change that everybody's been talking about all week in wrestling, it is official. How could I put it this way? I am no longer a WWE stockholder.
You're not?
I am no longer a WWE stockholder.
What are you going to do for retirement?
Well, now I'm officially a TKO stockholder because the merger has officially occurred. Stocks have been swapped over, all of that good stuff. So now, as I jokingly told the wife, now I'm a stockholder in UFC and WWE. So now I got the big two that I enjoy. So now
I thought that was that stood for Tony Khan organization.
No, that is not it. Is TKO Enterprise Holdings as the official term. Look, you probably saw in the thumbnail they had the big giant belts out in front of the New York Stock Exchange. The Endeavor, TKO, all that good stuff out front. But I think from a wrestling fan perspective, there's something a little more to it than that for us. It is officially the end of an era. Someone other than a McMahon officially owns the majority of WWE. I mean, it's the end of an era, man. Like, because you got to think it was his dad before that. And now McMahon, I think, owns like 16% of the company now.
Well, much like things, when I lost control of things, I also grew facial hair. I probably grew a better mustache than Vince. So he looks creepy. He looks like Howard Hughes. He looks like Mr. House from
Listen, shit on him all you want. That
mustache. I know, I love Vince. Nick,
No. I'm saying the mustache is epic.
Yeah.
The grapefruits it takes to grow that and keep that.
Yeah. No, I got to give Vince more credit. Vince built my childhood. Okay, Vince and George Lucas and Stan Lee are the holy trinity for me. Okay? if not for those three guys, the horrible things of my childhood, the shittiness of growing up in Alabama would not have been bearable. Vince means a lot more to me than all the horrible things he did, all the things people say and shit on him. Vince was a childhood hero of mine because he did bring me so much happiness.
Well,
So,
one of the things that it is sometimes I feel like it's a struggle today is it happens with actors, it happens with musicians, it happens with so forth. By the way, by no stretch we are excusing anything, but to separate the two things, we can say we can appreciate everything he built with WWE, even though there's this other stuff over here that we don't look at fondly. Like, okay, this is a black eye on his his history and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, from the sense of, as much as you'd love to just beat up on him, there's a moment where you have to understand that, like, if there's no Vince, is there an AEW?
no.
Because if Vince doesn't build a company to the point where it was, is there a TV network willing to take that risk? If WWE had failed, I don't know that there's another TV company going to take that risk with a young upstart company trying to get their feet under them.
And people get mad about the death of the territories. The territories were great. Territory wrestling was awesome. But would they have survived, Nick? Would the territories have survived?
I would actually like to put that as a poll out there, that it had Vince not killed the territories, would they have survived on their own? Like, would they have? That's a good.
In the globalization era. This is a globalization era. Okay, not a local television era. Okay, when I grew up watching Ron Fuller and them on WBRC in Alabama, it was phenomenal. It was awesome. Ron Fuller is a personal childhood hero of mine. Okay, but could they have moved in to this century? Could they have had the vision? I don't know the answer to that question, Nick. I don't know what to tell you.
Would it have evolved enough to compete with the national television market, the cable market when it moved in, and so forth and so on? Yeah. That's the question, I think. And it's a challenge to kind of ponder, but I do think that's a very, very solid question. Would they have survived anyway? So, good question. Now I'm in a small text group, and something came up in this group, and it leads me to this question, by the way. Somebody asked, because a while back when the whole purchase was officially announced, not officially closed, but when it was announced that it was going to happen, I made the statement, like, I just don't, it was like, hey, I don't think this is going to change wrestling for us as fans, as it is. And so somebody in that group messaged me, a friend of the show, Rafe, and said, hey, do you still think this isn't going to change how we see it as wrestling fans? And my answer is, yeah, I don't think this changes what we see on TV week to week. I think people are like overreact to that. Will there be subtle changes and some behind the scenes stuff change? 100%. But as far as, I don't think this changes who you're seeing wrestle from week to week and the creative itself, because for all of the drama that Triple H is no longer on the board of directors, okay, there's just only so many seats, folks. I mean, I hate to be that way, and that kind of like wasn't his role anyway. I hate to be this guy, but I kind of felt like he was an honorary board member to begin with.
If the 12-year-old watching wrestling and asking to see John Cena and wanting a John Cena Funko Pop for Christmas, that kid will never know this happened. And unless you saw this happen, you won't ever know. Now, the whole thing, well, talent's going to be released. Talent's released almost every year. There's usually a big purge. People get released. It happens. I hate to say it. You can't carry all the people. Even AEW releases talent, Nick. Look at the people they don't make it into, they don't. AEW's press isn't as negative. Let's be honest.
Well, AEW they don't release people. They just don't re-sign people. That's their whole.
Okay. WE probably cuts 20 something people at a time. That's how the developmental process works. A lot of times they're cut before they get to the main roster. A lot of times they just cut the main roster people. If they don't catch on, if they don't sell merch, it's a professional business. You have to get there, and you have to make spots for the big people. You have to make there's 5 hours of mainstream TV a week, and if you're not drawing, you're not going to be on those spots. Not
Right. But
everybody's Rhea
look,
Rip.
but yeah, I think somebody on the top is going to be cut at some point? Sure. Happens all the time. I think people are going to be let go. But like you were saying, I don't think it changes. They've done a phenomenal job in building the brand to the point that I don't think there's a wrestler that's irreplaceable. The fans like to think so. They grasp a hold to a favorite, and it happens. That's fine. The only things I foresee that could actually change the product as we see it is two changes. If Triple H if he were to leave, obviously the creative philosophy could change, so therefore the product would change, right? That's a logical sense. The one that people don't grasp as much when I say, and by the way, I do question if this day's sooner than later. Kevin Dunn. If Kevin Dunn leaves, the reason I think we notice it is because of things we see. The fuck is that?
Bucky Beaver.
Oh, Chai.
He was on stage at the stock exchange. People give him shit, but he's been there through all of this.
Yeah, he got a huge payday, by the way, when they closed. Massive payday, millions when this deal closed, and so I'm wondering, did he hang around just long enough to get all of that? But here's the thing. Here's why he's so. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're." I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's terrible. If he leaves, it's going to be different because you're going to have a guy controlling the actual television presentation, who, if he sees things as differently, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way. The presentation itself could change. It could look differently.
It's a vision.
Then you would notice, oh, somebody must have changed. Something's changed.
Yes.
To me, those are the only two changes that I see that would actually make a huge impact from a fan sitting on his couch, watching it on television, saying it looks different.
I'm willing to agree with you on that. That would be significant. Huge Triple H fan. Always have been. Back to the point where he spit on people. I valued it, and I've thought that his creative product has been very good. Kevin Dunn, while he gets more shit than just about anybody else backstage, especially from Cornette, I can't give the guy too much shit because look at the quality of the product, Nick. Look at the fact that there is a marketable brand that another company as big as UFC wanted to pick up. Okay?
Listen, I could be argued the product's too slick. It's too produced. It's overproduced. But that's not what I'm saying. That was the whole click that I tried to throw on there. The one caveat I was throwing in there is I'm not saying Kevin Dunn leaving is a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it'd be different. It'd be noticeably different. If we're having the debate whether it's a good thing for Kevin Dunn to leave, you're caught in between a rock and a hard place because on one hand, I think it would be a good move because it would actually change the way we see it. We might get something that's fresh and new. The bad thing is we might get something new that's not so fresh. You might get something worse, but it would be new, and sometimes new for the sake of new is not always a good thing.
Well, that's been one of my knocks on AEW is I don't like the way it looks, and that's probably coming from the fact I'm so caught up on the WWE look. That's the look I prefer for televised wrestling.
You just don't like new a lot. It's different, and so it doesn't usually fit to what you're looking for.
I am not ever going to agree with that, because that would mean I would have to agree with something new. Okay, so don't ever accuse me of that.
Correct.
And one thing I do like new, I like Becky Lynch winning the NXT women's belt.
Look, her going down in general to NXT. I think, look, they started it a while back. Remember, we were seeing stuff like Dolph Ziggler went down, Seth Rollins going down. I mean, Dom's down there, so there's all kinds of stuff happening. Super cool. Super cool. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. But for her to grab the title, I have two reasons as to why I think she specifically went there. I think, one, she went there. Look, stories are she's always wanted to hold that belt. She's always wanted to be the NXT Women's Champion. By the way, that's a wrestler thing, and I kudos to them, and I'm all about it. We're gonna address a little bit of that on the Indy thing. Wrestlers want championships, even if that means they have to go somewhere new. Hold that thought. We're coming back to that later in the Indy section. But this, I think, is you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours situation with Becky Lynch. I think Becky going down to win that championship, a lot of people might shit on it and go like, oh, she beat her. My argument is, you don't think she's going to return the favor and drop that title back to Stratton and put her over and give her a step up?
The whole beauty of the thing is the pop you get where Becky's going to come to NXT. That's a good sign. Dominic came to NXT and is carrying that belt on TV. That's a good sign. NXT is doing pretty good in the ratings. Even though ratings aren't as important, we proved that the other day. Haven't dropped that one yet on the show. NXT is doing very well. And part of the secret, in my opinion, is they're using crossovers with their main roster champions.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great product. They have got tons of talent. Just absolute tons of talent and developmental. It is a feeder system. Just like, I don't even know how to compare it. Like a machine gun full of talent, just waiting to shoot these people out. The women's roster is stacked. Tiffany Stratton is, I would say, ready to go. They have people ready to go, just waiting to go up to the roster that there's just not a spot for, Nick. Just, man. Braun Breaker, some of these other guys, there are people on that roster that never did find a spot on the main roster. NXT is a quality wrestling program, and they're doing a cross promotion with the main roster. That's good to see those belts on the big TV shows, because that helps promote it too. That's smart production.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think long term, I think NXT benefits from it. Like we discussed that, how the ratings don't matter, but it's good. I always tell people ratings aren't the end all be all, but it's a great thing if you see a trend up or trend down. Not so much is a good thing, but at least you see the trend. I just don't think from a week to week basis, like 1 week, like snapshot isn't the end all be all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the going into the next topic.
Hold on. Before we do, we don't want to go into our next topic until we talk about our friends down in Augusta coming up at the end of the month, Myron.
Yeah.
Who we going to see?
CannaCon. Yeah, baby.
Hey, Augusta, have you heard the big news? September 30th, CannaCon is coming right there to 90 Millage Road, right there in Augusta. That's right. That's the American Legion, Post 63, right down the road. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's part of the big chunk of the festivities. Don't forget, however, at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., live concert will be by Radio Cult right there in the building as well. What's going on this year? Great stuff, including for the first time ever in Georgia. Do you remember the crazy movie back when we were kids, Maximum Overdrive? The Green Goblin head that was there, right there on the 18-wheeler, will be for the first time ever. It will be there. Yes, the original prop from the movie will be right there at CannaCon. Also, look, CannaCon is really famous for its cosplay championship, and for the first time ever, they're going to take it to a whole nother level. Not only will second and third place get trophies, first place will be crowned with the CannaCon cosplay championship belt. That's right, championship belt for the for the big winner. But hey, look, don't worry about it. Look, the kids are also going to be, they're not going to be left out. They got a cosplay specifically for the kids, and they will have a champion as well. And for the first time ever, there will be a Fans Choice Award, like a Fans Choice Prize. So you, the fans, will actually determine one of the winners as well. Special guests are Radio Cult, Kelly Graham, Randall Bishop, Specs Thomas, and many, many more. All of that's going down right there at CannaCon, September 30th, 90 Millage Road, Augusta, Georgia. That's right there at the American Legion. You definitely don't want to miss out. CannaCon 2023 is coming to Augusta, Georgia. That's right, man. Check them out. CannaCon 2023, Augusta, Georgia, right there at the American Legion, September the 30th.
No, Conrad, I can't go. I can't be on your show. I'm going to CannaCon that day. Oh, God. Sometimes, Nick, it's just getting ridiculous.
Can't even get through a show. Can't even get through a show anymore, can we?
No, it's just got ridiculous amount of calls we get.
Exactly. Well, man, let's dive in. You wanted to get into that. We're talking about we're a good full week of processing the whole CM Punk firing, and this probably is our last time having to discuss it, because I wanted to not be more of the reactionary phase. I wanted to think about it and, winners, losers, all that kind of stuff.
Who lost, Nick?
Everybody. Everybody.
I think you're right.
I just have summed it up over the last week, and I felt like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I made the joke about, hey, the problem solved. Sometimes you have to listen to the whole show before you call me when I say stuff. Mm-hmm. He knows who he is. When I say everybody lost, my logic is very much the sake of Punk lost because he just doesn't have a fucking job right now.
I think he's okay.
I'm sure he's going to fall on his feet somewhere, right? He's and I'm sure he's taking care of his money. He just strikes me as that guy.
Yeah.
But
we didn't spend it on booze and drugs.
No. But clearly he enjoys wrestling, or he wouldn't have been back at all. So maybe he did miss it and he wanted to come back.
Fair enough.
At the end of the day, I think I think him being fired is not that he doesn't just have a job, but I think right now it's kind of a look. And we know go back to last week and you'll hear my thoughts on the whole firing and blah 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 on that part. But it's a black eye on his legacy, if we want to go that far in wrestling. That's it. To me, it is. It's a black eye. It's because he's gonna be labeled as the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a black eye on his legacy. 2, I think Tony Khan loses. Would you call this? And look, I know a lot of people want to think about other things in the past or whatever. I think this is the first big L loss, that Tony Khan takes from. He took a chance on something and he brought him in. And it didn't work out. Like
I have to agree with you.
By the way, it wasn't that it just didn't work out. Like I always tell people, there's a difference between you make a first round draft pick and it just doesn't quite live up to the standards, versus you took a first round draft pick and ends it up being like a bust or a problem that you had to, for reasons you just had to get away from it.
Well, it's almost like you took a first round draft pick and then he started a fight with some of your running backs that were first round draft picks from the year before, and then there was dissent in the locker room, and Tony is put himself forward as a man of the people, a true wrestling fan who wants to do right and give somebody an alternative to the Vince. And this is a loss. This is something I think this probably hurts Tony more than it does Punk. Because it's not exactly like Punk had that wonderful history of cooperation. This is something that goes against Tony, because Tony was the Mr. Positive, Mr. Let's do what's great for wrestling. Let's be super cool and nice.
But see,
Let's hold hands.
I think he loses for the loss. I think he wins for actually finally having the managerial strength to just fire him. Make the decision. I'm a big fan of make the decision. If you're wrong, then figure that part out and move on. Like, don't sit there and be accused of incompetence because you're not doing anything. So I think he gets a win for actually. Here's the fucked up part. I don't know. I don't really like that he fired him, but I think he takes the win from a managerial aspect that he did fire him.
Well, he had to. He didn't have any choice if he wanted to maintain any form of respect in the wrestling business.
Okay.
And I don't think on it. Look, I'm not expert on wrestling. The only thing I study more than wrestling is some of these people's mothers. But what I've seen is sometimes you just have to put a line in the sand. Sometimes you just have to be that guy, and people have to respect you. And if Tony hadn't have done that, for good or bad, people wouldn't have respected him. People are somewhat scared of Vince. Vince has made a culture where people respected him or they didn't work. And Tony was seen as maybe a little daddy's boy worm. And this is his shot across
I think he was
bow.
always liked. There's a lot, and that's my thing. There's a lot of things to like about Tony Khan.
Yeah, I think I'd hang out with him.
I think he's I think he's great for wrestling in a lot of aspects. I think seems like a good hang, as they like to say. I mean, a lot's about, and I think he was even like super good to the boys, to the wrestlers, talents all involved. But like I said, I think everybody was chipping away at his, him being the boss. Like, sometimes you got to be the boss.
Well, I mean, people were looking for holes in his hands, and he just wasn't. He wasn't here. He couldn't save the entire wrestling business. He was trying to do as good a job as possible, but you can't save everybody. There are times where there has to be cuts, and you have to show strength. I mean, this is coming from retail management. Okay, you did it. You've had to let people go for the good of a team. You've had to let go of troublemakers just to be able to keep the rest of the staff where you could keep them.
Now, the dangerous line that you walk in when you're doing this from a business perspective, which brings me to my AEW reason they lost. People can shit on them all they want. We're not going down the ratings thing. Ratings, or what was his effect on ratings and that. By the way, I agree. In hindsight, I look back and I think that whole 90,000 people tuned out when they said Punk wasn't there was a bullshit story.
All wrestling news is a bullshit story. All that stuff is clickbait.
Well, 90,000 people did stop watching. But it was because it was from the first quarter hour. I always go back and go, what was the lead-in? Was there, like, people just hadn't changed the channel yet from the show that was before it? Because if you watched it till 7:02 or 7:01, you were counted, or whatever, or 7:05, whatever. You could have walked out of the room if you were a Nielsen person, and you just didn't, you didn't flip the channel.
It's just so hard with metrics.
But I will tell you this: motherfucker sold some merch.
He's still on Pro Wrestling Tees, isn't he? Because that's not
I would argue too. He sold tickets, especially when in certain markets where he hadn't been seen yet.
And you argue that attendance is down across the board for every possible show.
For AEW, yeah.
Viewership is not down, but attendance is down. So maybe he was good for attendance.
But I'm also like, he was good for a run. and he was still selling merch. So God bless him. So I still think there was value there. Look, this isn't the debate of should he or should he not have been fired. This is why people lost. Now, younger talent, let's move on to that one. You know why they lose? Somebody that in that look, Jericho's still in that market, and I think Bryan Danielson's in that group. But I think he was a guy who was going to push those guys, the younger talents, to be better. Everybody talked about how he was a perfectionist, 100%. So he's going to push them and try to make them better, and that, I think, is a loss in the locker room. Whether, look, it was delivered properly or whatever, there's still somebody there pushing, and I think that's necessary. And last but not least, this might be the oddest one. It's a question. I'm not saying this is a statement. This is a question I asked. So does now the elite not have anybody pushing back against them, to actually challenge the ideas? Do we get, look, I think clearly Bryan Danielson is elevating himself to a point that he's going to be, I think Bryan Danielson has all of the potential in the world to be Tony Khan's Triple H.
Yes. Agreed. I don't think they could do a better job selecting someone to be their Triple H.
Yeah. Chris Jericho's probably there as well, but he can be occupied at times, and for good reason, by the way. I'm not crapping on it. So I think you could have as many of those guys as you need. You could as many as you can get in the locker room that are the guys that push everything to be better. So that's why I think, as a general rule, I do think that it is a loss. Not the reasons why, not the argumentative of should he or not of. I think AEW does lose by losing him long term. So
it can't help to have a veteran gone.
Yeah,
in a locker room full of younger guys, losing a veteran of any substantial experience can't be good.
No, cannot be in the least. But this is going to be a more of an indie show than we've had in a long time, just for the sheer aspect of it was a massive weekend. As we head into the indie section, we always have one of our favorite segments of the week, which is the Pro Wrestling Tees Shirt of the Week. I didn't even tell you what it was going to be this week, so you're finding out for the first time as we drop it. Friend of the show, the Killbilly himself, Nathan Mowery. Head on over to Pro Wrestling Tees. Look, the Killbilly, I've got a big look. There's a lot I've got to say about something that went down at Southern Honor. But before we get there, make sure you're heading over to Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Nathan Mowery. There you can see he's got 2 shirts, by the way, on there. But the Killbilly shirt's the one you want to get this week. Check him out. And while you're there, hey, pick up one of ours while you're at it, because we would greatly appreciate it when you bundle them up and get a couple of them.
Is that Tank on that shirt, too?
Yeah, there's a couple guys on there, yeah.
Well, good God. I get me a Tank shirt, too?
So,
well, holy shit. Well, also, did you see that pictures of that fool in the hospital?
I did.
Look, Friday night, he comes out and impresses the hell out of me. Saturday night, he winds up in the damn hospital. I love that guy to death. Nathan, don't die. Don't die. You got a wonderful girlfriend.
He's showing the world how tough he is, one much at a time.
Get them damn skewers out of your head. You ain't a fucking hot dog. Okay?
Maybe
love
he
you to
is.
Death, buddy.
It's all about the pain in the game.
Frank? You're Frank? Is that what the fuck you are?
He's a Frankfurter. So let's talk a little bit about Southern Honor. Look, as we all know, this show was the kind of the setup show between Rumblejack heading into Steel Here 5, the anniversary show, the 5th year anniversary show of all things, man, believe it or not. I called it Team Southern Honor. It was Hollis, Gunner, and David Ali. They do win the main event, but look, not for without saying, David Ali took an ass whooping at the beginning of the show from the end game, Sexton, Halen, and Judas, setting up obviously a pin. Because why? We got to prove a point. David Ali can beat Judas, and at Still Here 5, will the Savior once again become the Southern Honor champion?
I talked to the referee on the way out, Paul Santa, and I don't like 6-man tags, but this was beautiful. This was ran like a really good, and if we're gonna point over my shoulder at the Midnight Express, okay, the old saying to cut the ring in half. When it came time to tag, the other heel ran around the thing and got the guy off the apron, so they couldn't tag. Beat the hell out of the guy. He couldn't tag out. Isolated him. It's perfectly done. This match was, to me, one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. Great job. Just an absolute great job. And then when Ali came back for the hot tag, all bandaged up, kudos, guys. Just kudos.
Yeah.
And
that, look, so that's going to obviously set, like I said, set the table for the title match at Steel Here 5. But look, the other title that is still lingering in around the whole state, by the way, this doesn't just affect, as a matter of fact, the country.
Yeah.
The real IWTV champion, Cruel, faced Adam Priest, accompanied by Matt Griffin, Action IWTV personality, owner, co-owner, director, promoter, all the above. And we clearly saw Cruel looked like he was going to pick up a win. By the way, I actually tipped my cap to Adam Priest. He had a great showing against Cruel, but Cruel just when he went to chopping him and pounding on him, I was like, this shit's over.
I have a fragile sternum, and had Cruel chopped me like that, my sternum would probably have came out my anus.
Cruel slapped the soul out of Adam Priest is what I said to somebody. That hit, when he hit him, I literally thought I saw his soul leave his body.
Loudest chop I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Look, clearly though, the story, the big thing coming out of it was two things. One, clearly Brooklyn is not happy. For I don't know what, and I guess we're going to find out more as time goes on. Turns her back on her husband, Cruel, for God knows why, and is siding with Adam Priest and Matt Griffin. It looks like time will tell, clarification to come, but I don't know what Cruel has done. But what's the old saying? Ain't nothing worse than a woman scorned. And I don't know what he did to scorn her, but we're gonna find out.
I tell you, two people I like, Brooklyn and Todd Sexton, when they're heels, it's magical. Just magical. Yeah. Those people work so well as heels.
And the biggest part, heading into the next Southern Honor show, Cyrus makes the save, so we think.
Oh, God.
And then he puts it basically hey, I'm the global star. I'm the guy, that goes to Japan, and I'm the one over there wrestling. I'm going to snag this IWTV title, and I'm going to become the real IWTV World Heavyweight Champion. And slams Cruel. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then we find out he's facing him at, Still Here 5 at Southern Honor's anniversary show, and they will wrestle for the IWTV World Heavyweight Championship. That's a lot of beef.
Oh, God. And that ain't the only thing. That ain't the only thing Cyrus did. That little shit, Lev, came out and annoyed Gary Lamb, and then Cyrus came out and...
So let me ask you a question about this Alexander Lev kid. He keeps coming out, he keeps interrupting, and he keeps when's the kid going to learn his lesson? Because I think the first week, or the first month he did it, took a beating, comes out and does it again. Cyrus whoops his ass. We joked about it, he's got the most punchable face. Okay, is he not tired? He's not getting just punched in the face. He's getting slammed and banged around, and Cyrus squashed him.
We ain't even got to Saturday night yet.
No.
We ain't even got to Saturday night yet.
No.
I got to give the kid. I got to give him. He's tougher than a $2 steak.
Yeah.
But, oh man,
there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, and you got to be careful because sometimes when you cross it, you don't know.
If you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough.
That's right.
And I tell you, how about the women, Nick? How about the women's wrestling? Larry said Danny Jordan was the best women's wrestler in the state of Georgia. There are times I agree with that, but there are other very good women's wrestlers in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think Danny is in her home in Southern Honor. I think she's good everywhere, but that's just like she is just beloved there. But then she said she needed more challenges. It just wasn't enough for her.
We addressed it earlier. This is what I was talking about. People want championships. And she basically is like, look, I come here month in and month out. I win matches, but it's not enough. Everybody knows why people are in wrestling. It's championships. And I guess she's going to have to go somewhere else to get them.
Set up.
Pause. We'll come back to that later.
Put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that. We'll talk about the other because I want to end with our tease segment, what we were discussing. But Chip Day versus Owen Knight. You're going to see a developing theme here as I go through. Chip Day and Owen Knight, I could watch them wrestle every day.
You put that on any show in the country. Highlight show.
Look, it's not a knock. Chip Day over the last 7 years, yes, folks, we've been doing this for 7 years, and if we've watched Georgia, I would tell people all the time, I don't know when he's on his game if anybody's as good as Chip Day. I just love watching Chip Day wrestle.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Fan favorite.
Yeah.
Very good wrestler. Gets more and more mature as far as his skills and his ring technique. Love to watch it.
He's the guy who can do all of the stuff that, it's crazy. I always tell people he's the guy who can do all that shit the kids want to do, but gets it here and knows when it's time and when it's not time. Yeah. Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that again. There's going to be a lot of that as we go along here. To the surprise of the night at Southern Honor, Nathan Mowery was asked to come into the ring and address what happened on social media when Sunny Days attacked him with barbed wire and literally beat him with, like, it looked like a barbed wire whip, essentially. It was made.
Had to stop cameraing or recording or the thing he's really so good at.
Yeah.
Oof.
And he got in the ring, and by the way, did something a lot of talents don't do well. He told the story in the promo. Started here, built here, built here, built here, built here, got to the apex, delivered home the point, and told us what we were getting.
Bingo.
Great job.
Conveyed emotion.
Yep.
Walked around the whole time, which, cutting a promo is one thing, but he was walking around, which took more. The guy's an artist, okay? Just the guy's an artist, so he's creative, but he never once skipped. He never stopped. He never stuttered. He got the whole thing out there. Kudos, Nathan. One of the better promos I've seen this year in Georgia wrestling. Maybe the best one I've seen this year in Georgia wrestling. Very good job.
It was a great promo. I agree. Great promo. Well, now let's lead into night 2 in the Action Building. Hardcore Hell 25, 25th anniversary of Hardcore Hell, Anarchy returns. All these moves. It was a feel-good show, as we like to say.
The energy was incredible. It was just, those people were so hungry for Anarchy. Those were Anarchy fans that had been missing Anarchy. They wanted Anarchy. Now, there were fans from Southern Honor, and there were some Southern Fried fans, but they were mainly Anarchy fans, and everybody was an Anarchy fan on the whole that night. Damn.
Yeah, great show. It was just really good to see this. Look, is there going to be more? Time will tell. We heard Christmas might be the next show. I'm excited to see where we go. We will find out. Look, keep listening to the podcast. Trust me, if Anarchy runs another show, we'll be discussing it here. Now to the highlights of Hardcore Hell 25. Listen, let's start with Nick's favorite. Nick Halen is your new Anarchy champion. Defeated the monster Jeter. I keep saying there's certain matches you need in your career, and sometimes you need the David versus Goliath match. This was it. My personal opinion, take this for what it is. To be an Anarchy, top guy, am I wrong here to say I could argue Jeter's the measuring stick?
Well, he's the final stepping stone. And can you imagine what it's like to do a David and Goliath match where Goliath is a babyface and David is a heel?
No,
okay.
Nick's baby there. Jeter's the heel there. Yeah.
No, I don't.
I think you're wrong. Yeah. Jeter turned heel. That's how long it's been since Anarchy run. He was the heel. He was with those. He was with the Two Strong guys. That there was like a little group there. You're forgetting. Your amnesia's kicked in. Nick Halen was baby there. See, that's the problem with guys bouncing around too much and whatever. Mm-hmm. Just move on.
I don't know. It was just a hell of a damn match. It was a hell of a damn match, and Nick Halen proved he could work someone the size of Jeter, which, I mean, Jeter is scary big. And he also moves like he's what? 210, 215 maybe?
Jeter's a stud, and that's what I said. I think Jeter's the measuring stick in Anarchy. I really do.
He's a measuring stick in Georgia.
Okay, I was being specific to the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Nick Halen climbing to that mountaintop in Anarchy and becoming that champion, I think is just, it continues to prove that what we've said all the time here. I would put, Nick Halen year after year in those conversations of the best wrestler in Georgia. I would.
Every year, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's that talented.
Like a Shawn Michaels.
He's that blend of Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, like all the above, right? That's kind of what he does, and you could tell who influenced him, right, over time. Just real quick. Chip wrestled Naja the next night after wrestling Owen at Southern Honor, and as I like to call him, I think I wrote it down in my notes. Let's just call him Chip. Put every belt on him day. Because at this point, that's a safe bet to put all your championships on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, we've already covered Chip enough to clearly know, but he stood out against Naja. That's just a great match. Now I want to ask you about Sal versus Todd. Sal Renaro, Todd Sexton. They were essentially wrestling a match to determine who would be Sunny Days' tag team partner in Southern Fried. Follow us here, folks, because they're wrestling on the Anarchy show. Because Sal got injured, and Sal and Sonny were the tag champions. Then Todd filled in for Sal, but then Sal came back and Sonny was out, so Sal and Todd were the champions. So they basically were determining who was going to be Sonny's partner. Oh, by the way, let's throw the wrinkle in that Sonny is the special guest referee, which was entertaining in itself.
Confusion, entertainment, technical wrestling. This is just part of what's going on in Georgia wrestling right now as far as cooperation. But this was so damn entertaining, Nick. I enjoyed this so much.
Best comedy technical wrestling match I think I've ever seen.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
It's super entertaining for the sense of great technical wrestling, but we're going to slap some comedy on top of that. By the way, even include the referee into that comedy. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Sal.
Sunny Days, entertaining as a referee.
Very, very entertaining.
Then, so I can't look when this comes out, wherever it'll be on their YouTube channel, something. 100% recommend checking this one out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's arguably up there as probably the most entertaining match on the card. I didn't say the best wrestling match, which it still could make that argument.
Yeah,
but it was still one of the most entertaining matches, right? Because listen, when we got to the main, by the way, it was the bloody best Anarchy. It was Anarchy for what it is. That's what it was.
I'm not a blood and guts and barbed wire type wrestling fan, Nick. But when I go to hardcore hell, I mean, I don't remember how many hardcore hells I've been to. All that changes. I just, all that goes out the window. Azrael is so talented at this kind of stuff and putting this together. I had to check on him because I think he probably broke something. Mason, Ashworth, Billy Buck, Coleman, Warden. Lev annoyed his way into this.
Was there anybody in this match that you didn't think held their own in that match? That was the crazy thing.
Oh, no, not at all. And one thing I enjoyed, Hunter James had this wonderful match against Seth DeLay. And his manager, the shiniest man in professional wrestling, Tristan Michaels, came out. And he had the first match on the card. And then Hunter was like, "Oh, where's all the challengers?" And so the Commissioner Rourke put him in the main event. And he was a bloody mess. Everybody was a bloody mess. Everybody was beat to hell. This was really good. Ashworth picks up the win in just blood, guts, and ass. Just everybody laid it all in the line. I enjoyed this. It scared the hell out of me, which is one thing. Wrestling matches typically don't just terrify me, and this match terrified me.
Yeah.
So the Battle Royal was awesome. Kudos to David Manders and his wonderful performance. Kudos to Rodney for throwing that little shit Benny McCarty out of the ring, even though he was just working security. I don't know. Do you only have to throw a midget over the bottom rope, not the top rope, to get him out of a battle royal?
Got to go. He's just got to get him out of there. Got to get him out of there. Look, Hawkins wins the battle royal. Ali wins the war in a sense because he gets a match afterwards and beats him.
Yes.
So, I mean, look, David Ali's not on a card that he's not gonna, he's gonna shine, right? He's gonna shine. But speaking of shine, before we wrap up Hardcore Hell, Judias versus Nick Aldis, former NWA champion. Nick Aldis look, I've told people for years, he's grown on me as time goes on. Yeah. I was not a big fan of his early on.
The professional's professional. Drew
100%,
heat before the match, worked out great. Judias is so professional. This match was amazingly well done. Those two shined. It was great. I really like this.
Matches like this, by the way, are the reason I pound the table and scream at the top of my lungs of why. Here's the thing. I'm not even saying put the title on Judias. I'm saying put him in a match to get a chance to win that title because he freaking should be in that spot.
Well, you know what he looks like? A wrestler. You know what he looked like standing next to Aldis, former NWA champion? He looked like a wrestler. He looked like a pro wrestler standing next to a pro wrestler in a pro wrestling match. On any level.
He looked like he belonged in the ring with Nick Aldis. That's enough said.
Bingo.
Yeah, and gets a win. So think about that. Do that math.
How about that tag team match? And they call it, and they change the rules. Seabolt gets involved. Now, Matt Hankins, Georgia Wrestling is a better place with you in it. The insult, looking like the child of Nancy Grace, looking like the pie-faced child of Nancy Grace and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Okay? You don't get that just anywhere. Hankins, please come back. Baby, come back. You know, I've been a fool for you. I was wrong, and I cannot. No, but seriously, look at the youth movement. Seabolt, Lev, James, and all the people that are just killing in Georgia right now and throughout the Southeast. This tag match was so much fun. I love the grapplers. I love Undeniable. Look at Crystal Rose killing it for the NWA Championship belt. I think Crystal Rose is one of the best indie wrestlers in Georgia. I think she would have beat Kenzie Page had Kenzie not had the NWA belt on her. And then we get this massive promo for Danny Jordan out back. Here's where the pin comes out, Nick. Tell me about what this happened.
Danny's not going to have to leave Southern Honor to get a shot at a championship. She challenges Kenzie Page for the NWA Women's Championship, via video package, and it's accepted. So it's Still Here 5, the anniversary show next month in Canton at Southern Honor. Danny Jordan will face Kenzie Page for the NWA Women's Championship.
How awesome is that? Twice in a row, the NWA Women's Championship will be defended in the Action Building.
Awesome.
And I forgot to talk about Mr. Delicious. Okay, Matt Griffin entertained the shit out of me. I went and had a conversation with him after his part in the Battle Royal, and I took one of my pain relieving little pink gummies, and I probably made up some words during the conversation. I will make a point not to do that next time, Mr. Griffin. But fascinating conversation. I like seeing everybody who was important in this part of Georgia wrestling at this show. It was such a wonderful experience to see everybody working together. Couldn't be happier for the state of Georgia wrestling. Thank you, everyone. And thank y'all for the show. It's really meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to those fans.
Great show. Wasn't the only thing that went down.
No.
I'm going to talk about out of order. IWE ran a big showdown in Augusta. Great crowd. Unfortunately, obviously, we weren't there. I haven't seen a report or anything, so I don't know what really went out. We know there was the big 4-way for the within a women's match. Listen, I haven't seen it. I'm assuming Danny won because that's what Danny does. Actually, we don't know yet because we haven't seen. But I
need some report. I need to see those reports, folks.
Yeah. So kudos to them. Look, they're running. They're crushing it every couple months. Yes. They run down there. Check them out. Follow them on on Facebook, social media, etc. IW. And I look. Obviously, they're doing great if they're pulling over 500. Right. Got to be doing something.
Oh God,
right.
Yeah.
Deep South, by the way, there's specifically a reason I wanted to mention them. Ran a show. They had Eric Bischoff there. Lots of other names that you'll know. But friend of the show, Skrilla, he's the champ. Shockingly, he's putting another belt, right? He's got another one to add to the collection.
He's got a trailer now he pulls for all of his belts. There's a ring trailer, and Skrilla has a belt trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicest guy there is, too.
I always joke, Skrilla's nice depending on where you run into him at, what show you're at, right? Sometimes he's the lovable Skrilla. Sometimes he's the dastardly,
Well, I mean, he's not. He's always nice to us because
right.
We are
because talent recognizes talent. That's why.
Yes.
Yes.
The elite. We're
talent recognizes talent. So
I'm not shit.
Kudos to Skrilla adding another title to the thing.
Yes.
And listen, Deep South. We keep saying it. We got to quit making the all of the life reasons that get in the way. We got to start prioritizing and figure out a way to head down to Deep South.
My family is a massive drag on wrestling, and my loss of the ability to drive long distances by myself has been a massive.
Well, the big one was Hardcore Hell being, look, we hadn't seen an
I wasn't missing Hardcore Hell.
That was the biggest obstacle.
I'm glad my children and my wife was not doing anything that I had to miss that night.
Yeah.
Or my mother was having surgery or anything, but I certainly would have missed that for Hardcore Hell.
Which leads us to this upcoming weekend, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, back in the house this weekend, down there, 405 Community Court. Look, it's two major titles are going to be defended. Hunter James versus Judias. Listen, good luck to the kid. Look, kid's talented. I'll give him all of that. It's got the great look. He's got all the moves and all the talent in the world, but he's facing a guy that I just made the case for. He should be the NWA World's Champion. So, how does that? That's right now. Hill to climb.
Right now, I think one of the things separating Hunter James and Lev from being the most punchable, hated person in Georgia wrestling is Tristan Michaels. I think Tristan Michaels pushes Hunter over the edge. Because Lev is extremely, extremely annoying to promoters and other wrestling fans. Hunter is the gold standard, but Lev is upcoming.
Yeah.
Got a lot of great stuff. The women's championship with Babyface Brooklyn, great card. The announcement for Still Here 5, holy shit, that's going to be an awesome one, Nick.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Brooklyn,
Yes.
Versus Jazzy for that title. So I think that card is headlined by lots of other, look, CT Keys, Xavier Reyes, Najicism, Lev's going to be on there. Listen, Sal versus Chip alone is worth the price of admission, and it's down the card, for crying out loud. That has all the potential in the world to be a great match. So much more there at Southern Fried 405 Community Court. That's where we'll be this weekend. As of right now, if nothing comes up, things are coming up left and right all the time.
My mother-in-law is coming into town. I like her a lot. It's going to be a shame to miss her.
Yeah. Give you a reason just to get out, take a breath.
Well, no, she's not got here yet, so I'm supposed to be cleaning house, but unfortunately the wife is out of town, so I'm staying here in the basement.
Do what you got to do, and, we'll see. And I'm sure, look, tons of other things before we get out of here. We always would be remiss if we don't remind you to check us out over on our YouTube channel. The handle's at Tapped Out Pod, because that's where it is on everything, whether it's social media, whatever, at Tapped Out Pod. But look, we're not just a YouTube channel, by the way. We obviously know we got a lot of podcast listeners who listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Hell, we're even on Amazon now. That's crazy, right? It's hard to even believe. So anywhere and everywhere, we greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
I can't even turn on my Amazon Music without us popping up. It's a wonderful thing to see. I am so patted. I am my just arrogance becomes so much greater whenever I see myself on Amazon. I have never been. Well, I would say I've never been bigger, but yes, I've been bigger. Star Wars, Nick. Star Wars killing it. Comic books killing it. Wrestling killing it. I'm a happy little fat man right now. I'm a happy little 12-year-old boy right now. I wish my childhood had been as good as it is now.
Yeah, man. Look, there's lots of that. There's a whole conversation that we addressed before we got on the air about that whole thing. But look, I want to send out our condolences to all the New York Jets fans. We do hear that Aaron Rodgers out for the year. I just hate that for a lot of people. I really do.
I don't understand why teams trade for old quarterbacks.
No. This has nothing to do with his age. That was just a fluke injury that happened on turf, by the way. A lot of buzz about getting grass in all of the NFL.
Well, they get grass for soccer. They take out turf on football fields to bring in grass for soccer.
Yeah.
For fucking soccer.
Yeah. That's been brought up. That's a big controversy.
America.
Yeah. So
don't make me sing the national anthem or a Lee Greenwood song.
I'll go that route. That's the one you want. But yeah, man. But I just really feel bad for them. Look, here's the thing. Before we take off, my thing is I posted this on social media. I'm not a Jets fan. I'm not necessarily an Aaron Rodgers fan. But I get how physically talented the guy is. I realize how big the story this was for the NFL, and I think it was a great thing for them to have a team in the New York market, that could do that much to drive the league. And now that story's just been yanked away literally 4 plays into the season. It was just horrible. And I hate that for all of them. But man, look, it's when we're down to talking about football, it's time to jet out of here, Myron. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I am all empty for the day.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.